All right, welcome to my demonstration for site measuring techniques. So this can be a difficult. These can be difficult techniques to teach in person. So we're going to see how this goes with me recording a demo. So much of what I teach requires me to be physically present with a student, so I can see what's going wrong in real time, or what's happening right in real time, so I can encourage or discourage certain behavior or be able to answer questions as needed. And this is one of the more difficult ones for beginner students. So, I encourage people to, if they have questions, if you are a student of mine, to reach out to me. You should have my contact information, and I'll do what I can to clarify for you. So for my model tonight, I'm still going to use Venus de Milo. We've started a few drawings with her there, and so now we're gonna keep going, at least for this one, and then I'm gonna switch it up some. So I'm drawing a mice sketchbook tonight because I think it will help people to see how things line up. I like these very large gridded sketchbooks. They're easy for me to write in. They're easy for me to do geometric designs or compositional studies in. So I'm going to be using this large sketchbook. I'm going to use my ruler, clear plastic ruler. I have gone ahead and put a piece of blue tape here at the 2-inch mark, and I'll explain that later. It's not necessary. It's more just to kind of help you see what's going on here, hopefully. Then, of course, I've got my white plastic eraser here, my Hake brush, and my two most trustworthy pencils. So this silverish one is an HB, and this blue one is a 2B. So as we learned earlier, the HB graphite is a little bit harder. It has a little bit more clay in it, so the marks are a little bit lighter. So you want to start with your HB, and the 2B has less clay mixed with the graphite, so it's a little softer and makes a little darker marks. So we start from our lighter ones, go to our dark ones, and then it's kind of back and forth until you get what you want. So, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple marks on my page that we're going to designate as the top of our subject, the bottom of our subject, and the middle of our subject. And our subject, again, is the Venus de Milo statue that we've used for previous demos. So, like I said, I picked that up for like maybe $4 at Value Village. I have a miniature cast hall in my studio here. So I'm gonna measure down. Let's see. Let's flip it this way. Here we go. So you can see what's going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks about 6 inches. Is this more or less as far as I can go on this page, with it still being on screen. So measure down 6 inches, put a line there, and then I'll just measure down 3 inches, and it'll give me a halfway mark to, let's see, right there. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do another vertical line here, connecting all of these. All right, so we end up with something like this. Uh, it's not quite a crosshairs. It's not quite a box broken into quadrants because we don't have these sides. But you can see the area is kind of broken up into four different parts here: top, bottom, left, right. So now what I'm going to do, this is the reason that we use these rulers in my classes, is I'm going to look through the ruler. Okay, so clear plastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the top of Venus de Milo's head with the top of the ruler. And I'm going to line up, let's say her feet. Let's say we'll go down to her feet instead of the base that she's standing on here at the 2-inch mark. And you can see I have this crosshairs that mimics this shape here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to mark the top, the bottom, and find our midpoint, and then we're going to sketch it all together. So we're only going to use 3 anchor points for this one. It's really important for when you're beginning to do these exercises, when you're beginning to do sight measuring, to just stick with the top, the bottom, and the middle. A lot of people, often a lot of musicians who are used to reading music and seeing everything laid out before them before they begin to play, if they can read music, if they're classically trained or whatnot, they'll take like 15 different measurements and they never line up. It's just keep it simple. Keep it simple. 3. So okay, so I'm holding this up now. You can see the bottom of the ruler on the screen, and from the top to the bottom, let's see, I'm going to line up the right side of her head here. And remember, we're just going to make some simple marks, basic shapes that we are going to change later. Remember, your first marks, not your last marks. I'm only using one eye when I do this, so it's much easier just to look through one eye and do this. And I can see right here, or the halfway mark, is where her drapery is kind of coming down around her waist. And let's see, the foot here, there's a broken foot. That's right there. Okay, so I have my top, bottom, and mid. Now I'm just going to do a sketch. Okay, I'm not going to take any more measurements right now. I'm just going to do a sketch. Okay, so we've covered this before, how to do a sketch and how to refine that to a complex contour, from a contour to a complex contour. So you should be familiar with it at this point. So I remember last time that neck was much too short, and then I can see I'm going to have to correct it again. But before I get too into correcting things again, I just want to map everything out, and then I'm going to begin to compare my placement of all the different features together. So like I said, uh, people at this stage, it can be difficult to grasp that it's that you're constantly refining your work. It doesn't just come out right at the beginning and look exactly how it's supposed to, or how you want it. The vast majority of the time. Always exceptions, but vast majority of the time, not the case. So what you want to do is just map everything out, big general shapes, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to start taking some measurements and seeing if we place things in the right area or not. If your drawing starts to like creep a little bit below or above the lines, don't freak out. It's okay if it's just a little. Um, we're aiming for accuracy, but don't beat yourself up over over a little bit here or there. It's not exactly as you see it. So, all right. Let's see. I tend to draw things very large. Not really, really large, but when I draw, my subjects tend to get bigger and bigger. So this sort of technique is really good for me because it helps me kind of keep things more or less where I want them on the page. And as you do more complex drawings later, composition will become increasingly important here. Okay. I can already see that head is that this area is off. But I'm gonna hold on. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of this mapped out. Okay. Now I'm gonna come back in and redo that. Clean this up just a little bit. Just a little bit. A little bit. We're gonna come back in and do a much more thorough cleaning with the lines and features here in just a well, very shortly. Very shortly. So. Okay, there we go. That's good. That's good. Stop. All right. So now we're going to get into something called optical reduction as part of sight measuring technique. And traditionally, people use a knitting needle. Any straight vertical, thing is fine, like a pencil. I like to switch to the knitting needle instead of using my ruler. If you are one of those people who really get caught up on your measurements, then it's probably a good idea to switch to something like this. Your pencils will be fine for this. Skewers, little dowel rods, popsicle sticks, a lot of things will work. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to hold this up to the sculpture. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to line up the top here with the top of the knitting needle with the top of the head, and then my thumb with the bottom. And then what I'm going to do as I look at the sculpture is I'm going to put this thumb on the chin, and then I'm going to come back and check that proportion here, check that measurement. So, all right. So you might have to move it kind of in and out a little bit. You're dealing with ratios here and fractions, so it's not a one. You're not going to be drawing something the same scale. But let's see. I'm doing this behind the camera. I don't know if it's actually lining up with the camera, but with my eye, I can see. Yeah, I did put that chin in the right place. So I see we're at the 15-minute mark. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and then I'm going to come back in, and we're going to elaborate on this process a little bit more with guidelines.